to option B, biochemistry, and we're going to break it down to SL and HL components. So today's lesson will look at introducing you to the concept of biochemistry, then look at proteins and enzymes, lipids, carbohydrates, vitamins, and finally biochemistry and the environment to round out the SL component. And then for the higher level, proteins and enzymes, nucleic acids, biological pigments, and stereochemistry and biomolecules. So by the end of this lesson, you should have an idea around the diverse functions of biological molecules and systems, what metabolic reactions are, reactions involving catabolism and synthesis called anabolism, what biopolymers are, photosynthesis definitions, respiration definitions, and also be able to explain the difference between condensation and hydrolysis reactions. And finally, use summary equations of photosynthesis and respiration to explain the potential balancing of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So the first question is, what is biochemistry? Well, biochemistry studies chemical processes in living cells at the molecular level. Now, these processes collectively are known as metabolism. And they're very complex, obviously. Some of these reactions, called anabolic reactions, produce large organic molecules from simpler organic or inorganic substances, while other reactions, called catabolic reactions, create complex molecules which are then broken down into smaller fragments. So anabolic is building up and catabolic is breaking down. So anabolic reactions increase the complexity and order in biological systems, and therefore they cannot be spontaneous. They require energy. And this is supplied by either photosynthesis, okay, where light is where the energy comes from, or in respiration, in terms of breaking down food to power the complicated metabolic processes. And we'll discuss those processes later in this topic. Now, the life functions of all organisms depend on this sophisticated balance between anabolic and catabolic processes, the intake of nutrients, excretion of waste products, and exchange of energy in the environment. Now, there's a range of different metabolic pathways which allow our organisms on Earth to develop and constantly change. Life in turn affects the environment in both a local and global scale. Therefore, a detailed understanding of metabolism is essential for all life sciences, from pharmacology to medicine, ecology, even agriculture. So it's important to be able to classify biomolecules. And the primary chemical element in all biological molecules is carbon. That's why organic chemistry is so important. And its relatively small size, moderate electronegativity, and electron configuration of 2s2, 2p2 in the ground state and 2s1, 2p3 in the excited state allow carbon to form 4 single or multiple covalent bonds with a number of elements, even including itself. That's your alkenes, your alkanes, and your alkynes. The energies of these bonds are high enough to produce stable molecules, at the same time low enough to allow such molecules to undergo various chemical transformations, which we've looked at this year. This combination of both stability and reactivity makes organic molecules the chemical basis of life. The unique ability of carbon to form these single and multiple bonds allows a range of different molecules to be formed of a magnitude of sizes and complexity, from simple inorganic molecules like carbon dioxide to giant biopolymers, which we'll look at later, like proteins and nucleic acids. Okay, however, a virtually unlimited number of possible combinations of carbon atoms with other elements, only a small set of relatively simple organic molecules is particularly important for a living organism. And these molecules essentially contain the elements carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, and some other bioelements, which we see in the table in this slide. And they are used as building blocks for biopolymers of hierarchically increasing complexity. So in terms of the pathways inside the body, they are metabolic. Now, most anabolic processes are condensation reactions. And as we've seen previously, what happens in terms of condensation reactions is that generally two monomers requiring two different functional groups combine together and release water. Okay, so you get condensation occurring, which forms a polymer and associated water molecule. Therefore, most catabolic processes require hydrolysis reactions, okay, catabolic breaking things down. And primarily that involves hydrolysis. The most important of these catabolic-anabolic pairings is the idea of respiration and photosynthesis. Photosynthesis and respiration are responsible for the global balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Nearly all the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere and oceans is a byproduct of photosynthesis. The process that started in blue-green algae over 2 billion years ago has dramatically changed the nature of our planet. Along with the production of the gas oxygen, photosynthesizing bacteria consumed most of the atmospheric carbon dioxide and made the Earth habitable for us, the higher life forms, and also plants and other animals. Because of this, over the past 500,000 years, the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has remained almost constant, about 0.02 to 0.03% of the atmosphere. However, this fragile balance is increasingly threatened by human activities, the greenhouse effect. And while the biosphere and oceans are capable of removing less than 2/3 of recent anthropogenic carbon dioxide emissions, this means that the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is reaching close to 0.04%. In fact, in 2013, it broke that barrier. And it continues to rise by about 2 parts per million each leading year. This, of course, leading to global warming and other climate changes. So that's why biochemical studies are important. They allow us to predict the impact of these changes on our own metabolism, life cycles, and ultimately the survival of various organisms, including our very own. So in terms of anaerobic and aerobic respiration, the process of photosynthesis begins when energy is absorbed by chlorophylls, and we'll look at those later. And in plants, chlorophylls are held inside chloroplasts. However, when sunlight is not available, the reduction can be reversed. The energy needed for life functions can be produced by the oxidation of glucose by oxygen in the process called aerobic respiration, which is outlined by the equations here. Aerobic respiration can also take place in cells such as humans and other animals, but cannot utilize sunlight and is completely dependent on the chemical energy of nutrients supplied by the photosynthesizing green plants. So that's just an illustration of the importance of biochemistry to our world.